Welcome to The Race, your home for the fast pace, the smart take, and every point of view in the room. We are in the new home of the Washington Nationals tonight because in this town there are now two power games, Campaign 08 and baseball. The new Nationals Park is less than 10 minutes from the White House, which made it pretty easy for President Bush to make the trip, who threw out the first pitch here 8 days ago. And who would have predicted in an election year featuring a compressed primary calendar that we would still not yet have a Democratic nominee at the start of baseball's second week. At half past the hour, don't forget big questions of the campaign, including whether Condoleezza Rice is angling for a spot on the McCain ticket. The bedrock of our program tonight, a panel that comes to play. And with us tonight, host of the nationally syndicated Ed Schultz Show, Ed Schultz himself, host of NPR's News and Notes, Farai Shadea, The Washington Post, and Kornblut, and Morning Joe himself, host of MSNBC's Morning Joe, Joe Scarborough. We begin, as we do every night, with everyone's take on the most important political story of the day. It's the headline. My headline tonight, more turmoil in the House of Clinton. Mark Penn, as you know by now, is out. We're going to analyze the immediate fallout coming up. But the question I've been thinking about all day is whether Penn, the campaign's chief pollster and strategist, will ultimately be responsible for a fundamental flaw of Senator Clinton's campaign. This is how the New York Times reported it today. Go to the quote board. His strategy, the Times writes, emphasizing Mrs. Clinton's strength and experience, has been controversial for months. Critics have complained that his approach allowed Mr. Obama to seize the larger theme of change that has come to define the 2008 election. There was something about the steady hand in charge argument for Clinton that seemed problematic early on. Perhaps the unforeseen political strength of Obama simply overwhelmed the argument, but the campaign under Penn's guidance seemed unwilling to change. The internal arguments began to splash across the newspapers, and the upshot of all this is that those humanizing Hillary Clinton moments have been rather few, and the historic nature of her candidacy has been overtaken or subsumed by questions of her personality and tactics. That's my take on the big story. Ann Kornblut from the Washington Post, welcome. What's your take on this headline of the day?
Well, my headline to your headline would be that Clinton campaign insiders say Mark Penn's ouster may be too little too late. He has obviously been on the ropes for some time, as the article you just quoted suggested. And more importantly, from a matter of perception, a lot of the people inside the campaign have felt that after losing in New Hampshire, he just needed to go. They just needed to show that the campaign shakeup was for real and that she was really going to do something differently. So he's gone now. They feel, he'll still be around at the edges doing polling, but there's a concern that there is just not enough time left to right the ship.
All right. I want to point out to everybody here, to the audience and to my guests as well, we have a little bit of a satellite day here, so everybody bear with us. We'll try not to talk over each other because we like to give everybody a chance to speak. So if we do that, it's because of the delay. Farai Shadea, welcome to the program. Your headline, your take on this Penn story today.
Well, Penn's departure could cost Clinton heavily in Pennsylvania. On the radio show that I do, we do bread and butter every Monday. We do economics. And with this hemorrhaging of American jobs, there's a real feeling among Pennsylvanians that they're looking at free trade. They didn't like the NAFTA deal. Democratic voters didn't. And now this whole issue about Mark Penn circles back to a deal with Colombia. And the question becomes then, if Senator Clinton really didn't want this deal with Colombia, this free trade deal with Colombia, why was her top advisor so heavily invested in it, literally and figuratively?
Well,
so that's really going to irk
that's
some
the question, is that was she representing, was Penn representing her campaign, or was he representing his firm, his PR firm, where he also kept his job? That's a real question.
He was representing his firm, but of course, people will question her judgment in keeping him on retainer.
Joe Scarborough, your take on this subject today.
Well, I've got to say, and I agree, there's a big question when it comes to Mark Penn about the judgment of allowing him to stay on at his consulting job while running Hillary Clinton's campaign. I've been saying for some time, Hillary Clinton can still win the nomination. She can still win in Denver. But for her to do it, she's got to run the table. There was this moment during the 2000 election when Florida had turned and was then a toss-up. Remember Dan Rather saying, yes, George Bush can still win. The odds are very small, but he can win if he runs the table. That's where Hillary Clinton is right now. She can still win, but she's got to run the table. She's got to play flawless ball, and she's not doing it. You've got the Penn debacle this weekend that everybody's talking about. You've got the release of the taxes, $109 million earned since the Clintons got out of the White House. Doesn't exactly help your populist crowd in Pennsylvania. And finally, you have what I think is the most damning story, is the exaggeration of the young woman who died in Ohio because she couldn't give $100 to a hospital and she didn't have health insurance. That ends up not being true, and following Bosnia, that could have a long-term negative impact on Hillary Clinton on the trust issue.
All right, we're going to talk a lot about Mark Pence tonight. Ed Schultz, welcome to the program. What is your headline today?
David, good to be with you. I think the big story tonight is John McCain. John McCain gave a speech down in front of the VFW today in Kansas City and attacked both Democratic candidates for their position on Iraq, and he totally ignored the GI Bill. Listen to what McCain said about Obama and Clinton.
Honesty is my responsibility, and it is also the responsibility of Senators Obama and Clinton. 4,000 Americans have given their lives so that America does not suffer the worst consequences of our failure in Iraq. In such a grave matter, we must put the nation's interests before our own ambitions.
The big story here is that the GI Bill is the focal point of the VFW. The veterans right now, they want this Jim Webb and Chuck Hagel bill brought up and passed, and they want John McCain to sign on with it, as 9 other Republicans already have done that. So I think this is the big story tonight, and it could be some real blowback for the McCain campaign.
You know, David,
he's certainly stepping up his... Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Again, the delay. But, you know, David, this is yet another example of how in this campaign year, what is up is down and what is down is up. Here you have John McCain on the issue of Iraq attacking Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, who are saying, let's get out. Most Americans are saying, let's get out. But you look at the internals of the polls, the only issue where John McCain has a commanding lead is on the issue of Iraq. He is leading Barack Obama by 14 percentage points on the question, who do Americans trust more to handle Iraq? That is stunning. Democrats have to get their arms around it. I can't explain it. I don't know if they can.
All right, we're going to get a break in here. Coming up, one of our panelists tonight, Ed Schultz, has been in the middle of a bit of a campaign story himself, under fire for calling John McCain a, quote, warmonger. We're going to talk to Ed about that when we come back. And as if Hillary Clinton doesn't already have enough to worry about, take a look at these recent pictures of her campaign chairman, Terry McAuliffe. I don't know, is he a little foreshadowing? Is he hedging his bets? What's going on here? A few snaps today in the blogosphere. The race for the White House from Nationals Park. Coming right back.